Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be showing from the quarterfinals of this year's FIDE World Cup. 8 more players left and out of those 8, 3 will be seeded into the FIDE Candidates Tournament 2026. We have a very nice game between Nodirbek, Yakubboev and Alexander Donchenko. Getting all the way here wasn't easy. I would say for Nodirbek even more so, as Alexander defeated Niklas Hušenbet, then Van, then he defeated Pranav, and then Gabriel Sargsyan. And okay, those are very, very strong opponents. But Nodirbek has defeated David Anton, who, what I always say about David Anton, he can beat really anyone. He's an incredible player. Then he defeated Anish Giri, then Matthias Blubam, who is already in the FIDE Candidates Tournament, and then in the previous round, Quang Liam Le, now facing Alexander Donchenko. So that's, an incredible roster, and it's going to be definitely a challenge for Donchenko going into this one, as he is sort of the underdog. I think even Nodirbek is now over 2,700 on the live ratings, but I will check. Let's check out the game. Quite a wild one. Nodirbek with white opens with pawn to d4, and if someone told you at the beginning that there will be a Nodirbek in the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup, you would probably think it would be Abdusattorov, but no, it is Yakubboev. We have d4, knight f6, pawn to c4, and pawn to g6, which is usually met with the King's Indian can be with knight to c3, knight to f3. You can go pawn to g3 right away, but here we have pawn to f3. This is the anti-Grunfeld variation, and you have prepared pawn to e4. Also, you might be going pawn to g4, so black has to be very careful here. And usually it's met with bishop to g7 or d5. But here we have pawn to c5, and now it's going to become really, really tactical. And both players are playing pretty much instantly up until this point. We're only on move 3, so something you would expect. We have d5, d6, pawn to e4, and bishop to g7. We have knight to e2, and e6, challenging the d5 pawn. We have knight e to c3, and now e captures on d5. Bit of a weird setup getting your g1 knight to c3, but that's how the line goes. We have c captures on d5 and pawn to a6, dreaming of b5, but no one ever allows you to play b5 just like that, so pawn to a4 and knight to h5, opening up the bishop. The knight is now ready to come to f4 if needed. Maybe you get some queen f6, maybe knight f4, maybe bishop to e5, queen f6, knight f4, maybe the queen can come all the way to h4. So that f3 is really inviting some wild play from black. And there is a game where bishop to e3 was played. Here we have queen to e2, and already as of move 10 we have a completely new game. Now bishop to d4. Okay, you're controlling a lot of dark squares here around the around the white king, and queen to h4 is obviously what you're preparing. Here Nodirbek goes into a 21-minute thing and executes pawn to g4. You could play it safe, just bishop to e3 and no problems there. But no, pawn to g4, inviting queen to h4, and that is exactly what we see here. Queen to h4 check and king to d1. We have knight back to f6, as the knight is saying. You could also go back to g7. Knight to f6 is what Alexander goes for, and king to c2. And this is just modern chess in a nutshell. My king is perfectly fine on c2. Now I'm just going to focus on that d6 weakness, and let's play some chess. Okay, we have knight f to d7, going after the e5 square, bishop to f4, attacking the d6 pawn, and the queen goes back, queen to f6. You have ruined the white king's position a little bit, so now the queen-bishop battery should be strong on this diagonal. We have bishop to e3 and knight to e5. We have knight to d2 and queen back to h4. We have bishop to f4, preparing to kick away the queen with bishop to g3, pawn to h5, we have bishop to g3 and queen to e7. And now g captures on h5. Rook captures on h5 and pawn to h4. We have rook to a7, trying to execute that b5 somehow and then maybe get the rook into the game. And even though it looks like black is the one attacking here, it's really not, because white is perfectly fine here. It's hard to say how much of this is preparation and how much Nodirbek knows about this position, but all in all, it is very, very impressive. We have rook to a7, pawn to a5, grabbing hold of that b5 square, and now the immediate b5, allowing a capture some b6 en passant with tempo, because You could prepare it, but no preparation will ever be enough. Like queen c7, just f4, attacks the knight. The knight comes to g4, let's say knight c4. And again, you're getting that knight to b6. Not the best. And of course, this is now impossible as the knight is also covering the pawn. So after a5, we have pawn to b5 and a captures on b6 en passant. Rook to b7 preparing to capture back. And now, believe it or not f4, which could be even better, but bishop captures on e5, saying this is enough. Bishop captures, and now knight to c4, defending the b6 pawn, putting constant pressure on that a6 pawn, and just asking black, what is your next move? And it's really, really difficult to find the next move for black. He does grab the pawn, rook to h4. We have rook captures, queen captures, and now knight captures on e5. D captures on e5, and the position is now winning for white, but you have to see not one move, but two moves ahead. If you see the two moves leading into the winning variation, then, you know, the sky's the limit for you. But if not, chances are you would ruin this position. So what would you play here? As white, only way to win. So the only way to do it is to play pawn to b4. Not right away. First, you have to prepare it, and you prepare it by playing queen to e3. And now there's really no good move for black to play. The c5 pawn is hanging. You cannot defend it. You cannot go knight. You cannot move the knight because then the bishop just captures on a6. So the only thing you can do is rook captures on b6. There's really nothing better, which was played in the game. And now pawn to b4. Only move that wins. It's incredible. Of course, capturing is impossible. The queen would capture the rook on b6. If you capture with the rook, then queen c5, and the rook and the bishop are hanging, so you're going to lose material here. So in the game, knight to d7 was played, but now just b captures on c5, and here Nodirbek creates a passed c and d pawn, which are unstoppable, if played correctly, of course. We have rook to b4, pawn to c6. Attacks the knight, knight to b6, and bishop to e2. Just keeping the king safe and preparing to go d6, d7. We have queen to h2, pawn to d6, and now bishop to e6, sort of inviting d7 because there's really nothing more. d7 check, and now he just gave up the bishop. Bishop captures on d7. Point being that if you go king to d8, then a simple queen g5 check, and you just promoted the pawn to a queen. King c7 you can promote right away, or you can go for some fancy knight to d5 check, knight captures, d8 queen. You can go king captures, e captures on d5, bishop captures, queen to c8 check, and now whatever. Let's say king to b6, and rook captures on a6 is checkmate, just to include the rook as well. So after d7 check, we have bishop captures on d7, c captures, and knight captures on d7. Rook captures on a6, and king to f8, trying to get the king to g7, and you are down a piece, but okay, the white king is on c2, maybe it's not over, and the situation on the clock does not help. Rook to d6, not allowing black a moment's rest. We have rook to b7 defending, and now queen to d2, preparing to be able to move the bishop as well. And there are some maybe tactical lines, like maybe king to g8, the rook captures on g6, and if captures, maybe some bishop c4 check, winning the queen, some crazy stuff like that. But knight to c5 was played, and now queen to d5. Rook to c7, getting the rook away from that b7 where the queen is attacking it. And now there's only one way to win the game for white, which is incredible. You're up a piece, you should be winning on all fronts. And yes, there are many great moves, but there's only one that's winning on the spot. So feel free to pause the video for the final time and win the game for Nodirbek Yakubboev while I give you a couple of seconds. The hidden mystery move is rook captures on g6. Congratulations if you found this one. And you're probably like, yeah, but why would we play that? Come on, everything is winning here. Yes, but let's say you play something like rook c6, which isn't crazy. I mean, it's a perfectly fine move. You're up a piece, you want to trade down. Then let's say rook captures, queen captures, and knight to e6. Yes, you're up a bishop, but how is that bishop, going to be a huge part of this game with the white king so wide in the open and the black queen being able to check the white king? And you give that knight one good check, and it's all over. So while this is much better for white, probably with perfect play winning. You know, you don't want to get your position from this, which is, you know, winning in one move to winning if you play like an engine for the next 60 moves. So rook captures on g6 is the way to go. Point being that if you capture, now you just win everything with check. Queen to d8 check, king to f7, queen captures with check, king to f6. And now, while you could capture the knight, you don't have to. You can even win the black queen or checkmate the black king, knight e5, king to g5, queen e7 with check, king h5, knight f6 with check, or you can just win the queen. That's also perfectly fine. King h4, knight g4 with a discovery, king g3, queen captures on e5, king g2, and queen captures with a nice checkmate. Our good friend the bishop covering the f1 square. So after rook captures on g6, we have knight to e6 and queen to d6 with check, saying, okay, I can capture the knight, then the rook, but you know, even without that, everything is perfectly winning. Or if you just go king to e2, then rook to g8 check, knight f8, and rook captures will be checkmate. So after queen to d6 check, rook to e7 blocking, and now rook to g4. You give black a move, but there isn't a single one, and that is of any use. So pawn to f6, queen to b8 with check. We have rook to e8 and rook to g8 check, finishing off in great style. King captures and queen captures on e8 with check, and he was in this position on move 44 that Alexander Donchenko resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once you block with knight to f8, otherwise you're going to lose the knight. King b3. You unpin, and now bishop to c4 check is coming, and it doesn't matter what you play. If king to g7, you just give one more check, and now you either move and lose the knight, or you go back and then bishop to c4 check. Let's say king to h8, captures, king h7, queen to g8 check, king h6, and now you can win the black queen, but also you don't have to. Bishop f7 with an unstoppable checkmate on g6. So that is also possible there. So yeah, very nicely done by Nodirbek. Really, really impressive game with white. We'll see what he goes for with the black pieces. Will it be some sort of a quick draw attempt, or will it be a fight? You know, I'm calling it. You know, he goes for it all out. He's not gonna play for a draw. No way, because that always backfires when you have to hold a draw with black, unless you're, you know, like really, really competent, which all of these guys are. But you know, when there's one perfect moment that you need it, then it just doesn't work. But yeah, very nicely done. We'll see what happens in game 2. All of the other games from the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup 2025 ended in a draw. I might show some of them. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, really hope you guys enjoyed it. Nodirbek very close to not qualifying for the candidates, but to almost qualify for the candidates. Remember, semifinals is final 4, and out of those 4, 3 go into the candidates tournament, so it's going to be madness. And yeah, I just realized I haven't fixed the letter on the little robot, so sorry about that, as obviously this is a classical game, not a rapid one. Sometimes I forget such things, but you know, that is what makes us human, amongst other things. So yeah, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Max Anderson, Udo Brandt, Eddie Sphere, Brian Pratt, and David Gasparian for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you still haven't, first link in the description below, download Lotus Chess and start preparing for your games in the best way possible with the best tools possible. See you soon.